Hi everyone, I'm Tally, this is Pharaoh, and we are bored of it. And welcome to our top 10 best productions in board gaming.
So we're going to go through. We're not going to number these because a lot of it will be down to personal taste.
Absolutely.
But we have decided that these are our 10 favourites. And so let's just get started in no particular order. But we're going to talk about what the game is, how it plays a little bit, and then of course what exactly we like, why we rank its production so highly. Is it the components? Is it everything combined?
Yeah.
But why don't we start with a favourite? If you've been a fan of the channel for any length of time, then you probably know that this really is one of our favourites, and that would be Caper Europe. This is published by Keymaster Games, and what we have here is Caper Europe, the Mastermind Edition. So why don't you explain what Caper Europe is?
Yeah, so it's a two-player head-to-head game in which you play an opposing gang of thieves, I guess, doing capers and japes. And basically...
Sticky bandits.
Yeah, exactly. Going around some beautiful locations in Europe, like Paris and London, basically doing heists. So it's a bit of back and forth, it's card play, you need to create a gang of thieves and all of their gear, playing card play and drafting cards, and then trying to basically win each location within a given city. You need to move a token towards you to get something. There's other ways of getting points as well, collecting treasure, money, and basically, yeah, creating the perfect gang of thieves in each location, trying to sabotage the opponent's gang, for instance. But we absolutely love this game. We played it about 25 times in the first month that we got it, I think. So, yeah, but why don't you say a bit about why we love the production, as well as the game that we're obsessed with?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, just starting into the game, it's just a very quick playing, but very tense, just tug of war, card drafting game, right? It's, you always, because you basically draft a card and then you give the hand to the other player, back and forth. And so it's always devastating when you have to leave something behind and give it away. A lot of tension, a lot of drama. But in terms of the production, this was a Kickstarter version, but I believe you can still buy the Mastermind version, probably from Keymaster Games. And they are well known for their productions, and you might see them again on this list, some of their other games. But it's just kind of everything that comes with it. I think the artwork is very on point and characterful. Yeah. It's very colourful. It kind of evokes the scene.
Definitely.
The components are great quality. You get these really heavy, dense metal coins that you use as coins, essentially, which are a resource in the game. And sometimes metal coin production can be lacking. And I think the ones here are really great. They're really weighty. They're fun to clack around in your hands.
Yeah, I think as well the artwork is humorous and it's kind of animation, but it still evokes the theme really well. It's still kind of classy and kind of evoking definitely the theme of a caper movie, let's say.
Exactly.
And yeah, some of the gear that your crew of thieves will be using is just quite funny, but still in a classy kind of way. I think it's not bordering on naive and humorous or anything like that. I think it's just absolutely on point, basically.
And the card quality is excellent as well. Some of the best in the business. And you even have a very nice storage system.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the storage system. Organisation is always a winner for me. But I personally also really like that it's set in real life cities, like real life locations, kind of museums within each of the cities. In all the versions, you have 4 cities, or do we have...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. London, Paris, etc., and kind of the landmarks on the cards where you're going to go and steal some things are real. So for me, that just adds to it. I think I love the game, don't get me wrong, but I think the production does add to why I love the game so much as well. I'd still love it if it was without, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next game. Here we have Ra, the 25th Century Games reprint. This is probably one of the newest games on this list, well, oldest and newest. So this is a very recent reprint, and the one we're talking about specifically, this is the Pharaoh edition, or it was known as the Deluxe edition on the Kickstarter or GameFound when this was put up there. But this is a recent reprint of the modern classic auction game from Reiner Knizia, and in it you're auctioning off tiles. So you're going to pull a tile out of a bag on your turn, it's going to be added to a marketplace, eventually an auction happens, and whoever bids the most gets all the tiles in that marketplace. But the trick is that you have very specific amounts that you can bid. You have little discs with numbers on them, so you have 7, 18, 22, whatever. Those aren't real numbers, it only goes up to 13, but you get the idea. And so you can only put in, obviously, a tile you have, and you have to go higher. But what's interesting is that if you win the auction, you swap the tile you used for the tile that was in the middle on the marketplace. So if you win an auction with a 13, you could end up getting a 2 back on top of those tiles, but then obviously your bidding power is worse for the rest of the game until you swap that 2 again.
And what's interesting is it's open, right? Everyone else can see what everyone else has left to bid. So, you know, there's a risk, right?
Yes, exactly.
Someone else maybe coming and taking what you want. So you want to kind of go in at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the game's about tempo when to start a bid, even if you don't want it, because you don't want someone who has a really high bid to get a lot of tiles. So why do we like the production so much on this one, Tally?
So I think really it's all about component quality here. Everything's very tactile. It's very weighty. So the tiles, and which are there a lot, come in this really beautiful kind of cloth bag. I don't know if it's velvet bag, cloth bag. Everything's kind of embroidered. The tiles that you pull out are very chunky and wooden. And for me, I really love that. Obviously, it's kind of set in ancient Egypt, right? And it feels in a way like a game that could be from ancient Egypt. Like there's nothing, it's very authentic. Everything's made of like wood and natural materials is what I want to say maybe. The coins are all metal. They're kind of done in thematic style, kind of like, I know they're not hieroglyphs on them, but kind of that kind of style. So the artwork, the component quality, and I don't know, I just feel very cozy, which is, I don't know if that's weird to say when you play it, because it's just very organic. Have I gone too deep there? Maybe.
But I think another aspect is I like some of the production designs as well. I know that there's a lot of debate about which kind of version, because there's been many reprints over the years, people might prefer. And with this one, I quite like that the player boards, they have little kind of cut out divots for where you put your tiles, and there's a place for everything. I like the kind of Tool art design. I think it's very readable about what goes where and what things do.
Of course.
I think one issue with this production that's probably worth mentioning is I think people would have preferred that the player boards told you the number of each type of tile in the bag, because that's something that's only in the rulebook in this production, I think, and that's something that gets called out a little bit. But in terms of the component, it's great, and it's obviously, I mean, arguably one of the greatest auction games, if not the greatest auction game of all time. And it's just a very excellent production. Now, the difference is the standard version. I think everything's cardboard instead of wooden or metal. But this is a lot more expensive as well. So it just depends how much you want your production, really.
Yeah.
But it's a great game either way.
Yeah, for sure. Just to think the production here, like,
really I think it elevates it.
For me.
Yeah. So that is Ra by Reiner Knizia.
Okay, so next up we have Return to Dark Tower, which is a re-implementation of an 80s game, which is Dark Tower. It's a cooperative game in which everyone will be controlling a character and basically trying to fulfill a quest to defeat the Dark Tower. So you'll be doing some dungeon crawling, some battling some monsters, some moving around, gathering items, gathering potions and whatnot in order to complete the final quest, essentially. It's a circular board with a Dark Tower, which is has a big presence in the middle of the board. And essentially that tower is electronic and it lights up and it spins around and spits tiny skulls out at you all over the table. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, so that's all you need to know, really.
Enough said, really, on the production.
Yeah, so this was, I think, what's great about Return to Dark Tower is, I've said before, this is my favourite cooperative game, and we're not really cooperative gamers. Mm-hmm. And this was such a surprise, because I got it for the toy factor, right? You have this big tower that lights up and electronic. It's something that's going to get people's attention. But the game that went with it, I really enjoy it because your turn is always very simple in terms of the actions you can do, but they throw so much at you that you have a lot of options about where to do those simple actions and which directions you're going to be dragged in, and you can't do everything. There's a lot of kind of plate spinning and micromanagement. Yeah,
and what I really like about it for a co-op is it's more difficult to quarterback, I think, because everyone is kind of, you can move fully around the board, but everyone has their own region or quarter that they're kind of supposed to be looking after and making sure that dark forces aren't taking over too much, represented by these little skulls on the board. So for me, I feel more free than other games to make my own decisions.
You also
I'm looking after my own quarter of the board.
You also physically can't see the other people sometimes and what they're doing.
Tower,
so you can't be like, do that, because you've no idea what's going on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
So in terms of production, I mean, obviously you have this awesome light up electronic dark tower. It's very attention grabbing. I think the miniatures are great as well that come with it, the characters. And this is one thing, we're not big miniature people, we don't care. And in fact, for example, we just got the meeple pledge, the wooden pledge for Cyclades, because we prefer wooden meeples. Yeah. But we did get the miniatures pack for this, because we thought, well, if you're going all in on such like a thing, why not? And I do really enjoy that. I think they have great production and they're very well done, and they really add a lot to the board because you have this big tower, these big lumbering miniatures. I think in terms of production as well, it's app-based, so you have to run it through an app a little bit. It's the best app-based implementation of any board game I've ever seen. It's seamless, it's fun, it's very stylish.
I think it's quite novel and unique as well in the way that you interact with the app. It's not just telling you what to do in a way, or like reading you a story. You have to actually interact with the app in order to beat the monsters and do quests. And it is quite fun because when you're doing like a really important battle, everyone will come around you and look at the phone, right? And it's just the way that you complete a battle, to me, is quite novel, because it's a kind of a bit of luck based, but you have to also have enough soldiers and strength. And I think everything that's on the board is really solidly integrated into what's happening in the app, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I just think the production all the way through is excellent, which, I mean, it's not a cheap box, so that's definitely what you want. But there isn't any corners of this in terms of production I don't like.
No.
It has, again, we've said this before, but very good storage. And I just think it's something that is always going to look amazing on the table. I really like the artwork, I like the style. Yeah. So
it's kind of clean as well.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Polished and clean.
Polished, yeah. Just the board is obviously thematic to this style of game, but quite, stylish, I think is a good word that you said,
So that was Return to Dark Tower. Here we have My Father's Work, and this is a worker placement game that sees you all be mad scientists within the same family. And it's quite an interesting worker placement experiment because there's an element of app interaction, there's multi-generational worker placement where you kind of play as one family member, and then a lot of what you've done gets wiped and only a little bit remains, and you kind of have to start over, but you have a little bit to build upon, and you go through that generationally, and you kind of build up your mana over time, what your abilities are, what your knowledge base is. But it's got an incredible theme, and it's a very solid, very unique worker placement game. But what about the production?
Yes, so I think for me at least, it's a lot to do with the components here. I think they might be my favourite components of everything we've got. They're just so cool. So because you're doing some mad experiments, we have some different chemicals, we have cogs, we have animals, no, I was going to say animal skins, but they're literally animals that you
animal
put into
parts,
your animal parts. But they're all wooden or metal, or the little, are they like glass vials that represent one of the resources. And they have like a little cork cap in them, like small scale actual glass vials. They're just so cool, so unique. The cogs are made of kind of like a copper looking metal, and they're unique as well in the patterns that are on the cogs. For me, it's just component quality, but also the game itself is humorous as well, like in terms of the story. So for me, that keeps me quite engaged with the story. I think we like the app a lot less here. There's a lot to be said about the app here. I mean, it's a bit fine stodgy for us, but yeah, it's more like the storytelling part of the app is a little bit stodgy. It's not as clean, and
it's I'd say the low point of the production.
Yeah,
especially compared to the components themselves, which are incredible.
Yeah, but everything on the cards, the experiments that you need to do, you're gathering resources to get experiments. They're so like very funny. Just the fact that your workers are like yourself, your spouse, your servants, and everything in there is uniquely done in a way to really evoke this fact that you're a family and there's different family members, and you're going into the village where people think you're a bit weird, and just everything evokes the theme for me, I guess, as a top line comment. Yeah,
I think you get some miniatures which represents your workers, and they're quite humorous. As you say, you have like the hunchback classic servant and the spouse and mad scientists. They're all done and they're quite humorous. And you touched upon it briefly, but just to hammer it in, one of the things that makes these components, which are already incredible, more incredible, is that so many of them are unique. Like all the different cogs are unique, all the little animal meeples, they're all different animals, they're not repeating. So you're getting a lot of variety as well as quality, and that's always kind of well received, right, by us. The art style is quite nice in terms of the booklets and the town, and you get a lot of content basically for what you get in the production. And based on the quality of the components as well and everything you get in this, back when it was on Kickstarter, it was actually quite a reasonable price.
Okay, next up we have Brass Birmingham, which again, if you're fans of our channel, you know that we absolutely love this game. We both named it our number 2 game of all time, right? It was one of the very few that we were aligned on in that ranking. But anyway, it's a kind of classic, dry, economic Euro game, right up our street, just the sort of thing we love, about creating industry basically during the Industrial Revolution in England. So you're going to be creating networks of canals and then railways in the later era, and trying to be the best at manufacturing different goods basically. So you want to create a network, build your factories, and then sell your goods at the markets. It's kind of competitive for space because in each city that's present on the board, there's only a certain number of spaces that you can build in. You get progressively more points for the more of a certain type of factory that you build. So if you can only build 2 goods, or we call it box factories, I'm not sure it is a box factory.
Box factory.
In Birmingham, and someone else is kind of progressing with boxes, then the space is quite competitive because you basically take an action by playing a card. So you do 2 actions every turn, and every time you have to spend one of those cards. It's always a bit of a decision. Do I spend it to take a loan, or do I spend this card because I need to build in Birmingham and this will allow me to build in Birmingham? So a lot of tough decisions round to round, but yeah, we absolutely love this game.
Yeah. Coming to production, it's the publisher is Roxy Games, who have a pretty good habit of
good reputation,
having kind of excellent productions. In fact, Radlands Deluxe Edition could have been a contender for this list, and was, I think. But in terms of what they did with Brass Birmingham and Brass Lancashire, they just kind of revitalized what a Euro could be and look like. I mean, before this, you know, any Euro was going to be very beige, very bland, kind of boring, chunky wooden components with like bright, like fire engine red and like stoplight green colors. And suddenly you had this reprint that came out, and it just the art direction is on point. You get a double-sided board of day and night. The cards are high quality and they look great.
Little beer barrel components.
Oh yeah, the little beer barrels.
They're really nice. You have kind of a lot of tiles on your personal player board, which need to go onto the main board to represent your industries.
Yeah.
And they're really nice as well. Even like the artwork on those is really on point. I just think, again, the artwork really evokes the theme. If you stick on some kind of Peaky Blinders-esque music, I know it's not the same era, but it's about Birmingham.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the same vibe. I just really feel like sucked into the vibe, basically.
It does.
Attention to detail in that arc is just so good.
It just brings the game to life and elevates it. And it's just such a sleek production all round. It's in a thinner than usual box for...
That's true.
I mean, this is now the #1 game of all time on BGG. I mean, you can't fault any aspect of this. And it's just always great looking on the table, no matter which side you want to play on. So, Brass Birmingham.
Yeah.
As hinted, we now have another Keymaster production, and this time it is Pax from Keymaster Games. And this is one that we really enjoy. We love Pax, and a huge part of that is the production.
Yeah.
So the gameplay is very simple. You have a trail, you're going hiking, and you move your little hikers as many spaces as you want, but where you stop, you get a resource or take an action. And what you're kind of doing is trying to gather enough resources to spend them to visit parks, in which you get a card, and that card will give you victory points, and whoever has the most victory points wins. That's a very simplified version. But there's actually a lot more crunch than you'd expect, which is another reason we really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But it is a simple game, but what elevates it so much is the production.
Yeah. And to be honest, it's just everything about it. There's nothing that I can really pinpoint and say it's the components or...
No, I don't know, artwork, I think. But yeah, everything's so high quality.
Okay, fine. The artwork, because basically it's based on a print series about the national parks in the US called 59 Parks. They're all kind of a graphic style, I would say, but just super beautiful. Really evokes what each park is about and looking like. Has a little fact about each park on the bottom of each card as well, and the state that they're in, and I always love stuff like that because I like to learn about geography. But the components themselves are wooden and natural. And
yeah, they're like rough, right? It's really nice.
Yeah, they haven't been polished too much in terms of like the resources. So again, it's really evoking the fact that you're out in the woodlands and the forest, because you could pick them up off the floor, right? Little wood chips. The hikers are really nice quality as well, have nice kind of...
Even though they look like Magic Man from Adventure Time.
Yeah, you did say that quite recently. You didn't really say it or notice it before, and then can't unsee that now, unfortunately.
Look at your parks hiker and then Google Magic Man Adventure Time. I'm telling you, they look exactly the same.
Yeah. But the storage solution is game trays, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's really incredible as well. And even that is thematic, like the tray that the components are held in, which you can have out on the table. Everything's just organized nicely, but even that is kind of shaped like a tree. It's just, everything about it is perfect.
I never get tired of looking at the artwork on the parks. It's actually a joy to collect these cards in front of you because they're so beautiful. As you said, they have facts on them, so a little bit of reading while other people are taking their turn. Yeah. But also just the art design on some of the other stuff like the gear cards and the season cards, just everything is like a feast for your eyes, basically.
Yeah, and even from a usability standpoint, I think the symbology is really good as well. So it really marries up usability with being stylish and beautiful and just everything.
Yes. So check out Pax if you want some of the best artwork and production and components around.
Okay, next up we have Kanban EV, which is by Everdell, and it is a Euro game about a electronic vehicle car manufacturing plant, which sounds kind of like a dry theme, but this is actually one of my favourite games. Again, like a lot to do with the production. I absolutely love the game, but again, it's elevated by the production. So there's different departments in this factory, and you basically need to get some designs for some cars. You need to test those cars. You need to build the cars. You need to get the parts for the cars and take them for a test run around the test track, upgrade them, and basically get the most tested designs out of any other player. You'll get some points as you go along because it is a Euro. But the twist is your mean boss, Sandra, will come and mark you as you go through the different departments, and basically whoever's doing the worst in each department at that given time, you're gonna get some negative points. So it's a bit of a unique twist on a Euro game. We personally like the meanness of that. You can play the more friendly version where nice Sandra, but I don't know, we're savages.
Yeah.
We like mean Sandra.
Weaponized Sandra.
Toxic Sandra.
Yeah. So this is one of Vital Soda's like big box games. It's by Eagle Gryphon Games. All the productions are very similar. So really, this is almost a stand-in for whichever your favorite Vital Soda production is.
For sure, yeah.
Like Vinyos or On Mars. So my vote was On Mars. Tally's vote is Kanban EV. And I guess the thing with Kanban EV is that you do get because you do homework when you study, and they're little books. You get the little speech tokens. I think a few more tokens here are like kind of custom.
Yes, exactly.
Which are quite nice. So, I mean, you could also even include in terms of these Eagle Gryphon productions, Rococo Deluxe, which is similar kind of production.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about these Eagle Gryphon games, big box, is that I think the storage isn't that great. That's where the production falls down for me. But in terms of the art design and the iconography and the components, excellent.
It's just top notch, yeah. So the artwork is by Ian O'Toole. He's our favourite. And I just think the way that the theme is lifted from what could otherwise be a bit of a dry theme with the components, but also the graphic design. Again, the symbology makes it really usable and clear. You know, these games are complex. There's a lot of interlinking things and a lot of chain reactions that happen that you need to keep track of. But I think the graphic design really helps you to remember what you need to do and where you need to go and what these things mean. I think this is a particularly good example. And again, I just think the artwork really absolutely nails the theme and the feeling of being in a car factory. I don't know, but in a very, very stylish way. And I just absolutely love there's little car meeples. They're not really meeples, but tokens. And then there's 5 different ones. You know, you need to get different coloured cards, like red and blue, and each of the cards is unique. They're not just coloured, those things. They actually have different shapes. Yeah. I just think that's really cool. I love it when it's like this is out on the table.
Yeah, and I think in any of these Eagle Gryphon productions, you're probably seeing some of the best and most unique kind of wooden meeples that you're seeing, really. Little robots or little cars or whatever, rovers. Yeah. All great. So that was Kanban EV. Here we have Pax Pamir, 2nd edition, which is undoubtedly one of the best looking games on the table. It has relatively unique components in terms of board games. Yeah. You have a cloth mat that you use as a main map. You have these resin kind of multi-use blocks that might represent troops or roads or different things. You have some wonderful artwork and beautiful kind of quality components. And it's also a very dense, very heavy game. So this is it's a historical game, kind of political manipulation, war type game about Afghanistan in the 1800s, during the time when kind of Russia and England and these imperial powers were fighting over the region, the local control of the region as well, the Afghani government. And in it, you're essentially playing local Afghanis who are using these big powers against each other for their own benefit, essentially, to gain their own power and have some kind of control over the chaos that's happening. So what's your favorite part about the production?
I think again, like, I don't want to say rustic feeling, but kind of the organic materials again. Like, I just think it really, again, invokes the theme. Maybe I think I'm getting a pattern here of why I like certain productions. But like you said, the cloth map, which is the board, is just beautiful. Very nicely done and embroidered, and you can just roll it up. And I think, like you said, that's quite unique. The wooden blocks are very tactile. They're in like nice colours that aren't really bright and primary, like you say, just very stylish, but in keeping with the theme. And the cards are also really cool, that kind of represent the kind of characters or actions. They have a lot of facts about the people that are on them, or some information about different events, which again I really appreciate. Being a historical game, you can learn a bit more and understand the real life historical context. And I think if you can learn something from a board game, it's always a plus from me. Also a nice small box. I think the production is really beautiful and high quality, but I think it's really impressive how much game there is out of very few components in a way. I have to say, I didn't click with this game until about 6 games in. It didn't feel like anything for me was lifting off the components or the map or the cards. And about the 6th game, and okay, I get it. I get how you can manipulate situations, and it's all very subtle. A lot of mind games, just like real life politics, I guess. What do you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered everything. I mean, for me, it's the gameplay. I think is I had it in my top 10 games of all time. I think it's such an elegant design that allows you to do so much. It's a real sandbox of a game with so many options and tactical decisions to make. But it's all elevated by this production. I think it's very clever how these blocks are multi-use depending what you're using them for. How a lot of the components are actually multi-use depending where they are. I think there's a lot of clever design, little tricks like that. You get everything in a very small, easy to manage box. And we would also add, because this is by Whirligig Games, Cola Whirly, the designer's company, I think with his brother, John Company has a similar production. I think this just wins out because it has the more novel components. But John Company could easily kind of be a sister to this pick on this list.
Definitely agree. Yeah, I think that's super cool as well, but for much of the same reason.
Yes, exactly. Because same type of game in terms of the historical aspect, not how you play, but yeah. So Pax Pamir, 2nd edition. Coming towards the end of this list, we have Everdell, and this isn't necessarily Everdell the complete collection that you see here. This is just the box we have with all the stuff in it. We actually did Everdell Buyer's Guide that tells you everything about all the stuff. So if you want to know more, you can check that out. But even just base Everdell has some excellent components, and I think with Everdell, the production was one of the key reasons it is and was so popular, both when it came out and even now. So in Everdell, it's tableau builder, I guess you could say, worker placement game, where you're sending workers out to get resources, and then you're spending those resources to play cards, which represent little critters in your city or buildings in your city, which then will give you more actions or let you do something, and then you're kind of going to spin out this back and forth of worker placement, resource collecting to play more cards and more till you have a city in front of you, and then you're going to score up for various different things.
Yes. So why is it so popular? Because of the great production. What's the great production? Well, there's a 3D tree in the middle of the board. I mean, come on, enough said. Also, I mean, the animal meeples, my God, some of the cutest meeples in board gaming, I'm sure. They are just so cute and wholesome. This whole artwork is very wholesome and cute. But everything's high quality. There's also some really beautiful resources. So there's little berries, which are kind of rubber in feel, some stone, which are very smooth and polished, like the little wood, amber, which is a kind of, I would say, like a crystal. It does look like a piece of amber, basically. Yeah. So the resources are also really lovely to kind of
they're all tactile and textural, like you would expect them to be. Kind of, I mean, I guess in real life the berry wouldn't be rubbery, but you know what I mean.
No,
they're very
unique.
Like the feel of them adds to the gameplay. They're very. It's not just that you have a wooden thing shaped like a pebble. They're very unique components and very eye grabby. Basically,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, what I guess elevates it for us as well is that we, have a lot of the extra content, and we basically got the stickers that go onto the animal meeples.
So yeah, it should be said that your workers that you're sending out, each player has like a unique animal meeple.
Yeah, so I could be a squirrel, you can be a turtle.
Yeah, exactly. And with the expansions, they just keep adding more and more and more different ones. So now there's something like 20 to 30 different types of animal meeples.
Yeah, they're so cute. They're all like different colours. But yeah, we have the stickers, which adds a bit more personality onto them. They're really beautiful. The
stickers are incredible.
Components. We're not sticker people either. We wouldn't typically
but we stickered the hell out of this.
But they are just so cute and so well done. And the characters, it sounds really silly, but the characters of each one just really shine through. And yeah, we were two early 30, well, not so much me anymore, but 30-something-year-olds on a Saturday night having the best time of our lives, stickering these little stickers onto these animal meeples and naming them like Gary the Snail. I mean, what more could you want? It's just so cute.
Yeah, so I just think turning away from the meeples, but the rest of the production is great too. You have lovely artwork, great card quality. The central board is really interesting because it has this unique shape, which then when you get the expansions, it kind of becomes like a jigsaw because they fit in perfectly around this unique shape. This 3D tree that you've said about, it actually serves a purpose where you're putting meeples that you'll collect later in the game on top of it. You're putting kind of event cards that all players need to see on it, so they're central. There's just a lot has gone into this production, and as we said at the beginning of this, it's why it's so popular. But there's also a great game at the center of it that has, I believe, hidden depths, particularly when you include some of the expansions like New Leaf, which adds new cards. So Everdell, I mean, if you're going based on production, this is obviously going to be one of the ones that will draw your eye and the best you can get. Last but definitely not least, we have Eclipse, Second Dawn for the Galaxy. And as you can see by this big box, there is a lot of production that's gone into this. So this is, you could say, is often compared to Twilight Imperium. Often people ask, should I get Twilight Imperium or should I get Eclipse, Second Dawn for the Galaxy? They are rather different games though, besides the fact that they're big space empire type games. This is far more of a Euro. It plays in a much shorter time and can actually surprise you by how quick it will be over in, despite this giant box and all the plastic that comes with it. But essentially what is so great, and we're obviously talking about Second Dawn Edition, is it has this incorporation of game trays into the box so that now the setup is extremely quick. You're basically just pulling out a plastic tray. It has all the components for a faction. You pop them open. And in fact, even the top of this box is a tracker for the various resources you have in the game.
Yeah, it's functional as well as being like for the game, as well as being functional for the storage. I think that's just very smart, basically. It's a clever use of space. And like you said, the time to actually getting this all set up is a lot less than what you'd think because of that. So I think, again, to call the theme, just the way that everything is designed is very space-like, of course, but again, for me, really invokes the theme. I think there's not like too much artwork, I would say, on it.
The blackness of space.
The tiles are really nice. The ships as well are all unique, and there's kind of some, non-player enemies on the board as well. Not that there's a ton of them, but again, they're unique depending on what they do. So yeah, just...
The thing, a lot of the miniatures are really high quality, even including stuff like monoliths and, like you said, the non-player stuff. You also have, because you draw tech tiles every round, and that's what's available to people. They get passed around on this tray. You have a tray that people can pass around and look at. So it's very usable.
And some of the tiles are being pulled out of cloth bags, right? So that's just a nice touch as well. Everything, the organisation and the storage is part of the game design.
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
There's a lot of there's a lot in this game, and there's a lot of cool little aspects. You have multicolored dice, which depends on how strong the kind of guns you're firing are. So you've got, as you said, all these little bags that you're drawing stuff out. You've got a lot of variety. And it's a game that we really enjoy, actually, even all the way down to 2 players. I think it's very Euro for a galaxy building space game. You're taking turns and taking an action. That action will let you do something within one area.
Resource management. You
have to manage pretty hard resources, but there is a bit of luck, a bit of uncertainty. You have dice rolls. And it's quite a nice merge of the two. But if you're looking for a big epic space game, but with some Euro stylings and excellent production, or just excellent production, then this is going to be one of the greatest around, because there's so much thought has gone into the usability of this. And it's just all to help you get it to the table and have it look good on the table.
Okay, so that was Board of It's top 10 best productions in board gaming. Please let us know what you think of our list. Do you agree with us or not agree with us on some of these? Let us know your best produced games for whatever reason. And we really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, we'd really appreciate it if you could give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel if you're not already. And thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again next time.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.